Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here today virtually so that you can learn how to navigate successful officer transition, even if you are a first-time leader as well. So my name is Cristian McGough. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am a student org advisor at the Center for Student Involvement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chloe Leal, she, her pronouns, and I also work alongside Cristian in the Center for Student Involvement as a student org advisor. So happy to be here with you going through this information today. So to get us started, we really wanted to take some time to discuss why officer transitions are important in the first place. If you want to continue, we have listed some quick examples of what officer transitions can do to help benefit a student organization, but just wanted to highlight a few of those. And so first and foremost is that new officers who have a positive and successful transition can gain the knowledge and confidence they need to successfully serve in their role. When thinking about officer transitions, this is a time that outgoing officers can share their insight and wealth of knowledge to incoming officers. Additionally, it is common for there to be confusion when there is turnover for officers. Being thrown into an officer role without any guidance or direction can be challenging to navigate. However, in having a positive officer transition plan, this confusion can be mitigated or avoided completely. Next is that successful transitions promote the continuation of goals and accomplishments by passing on the work and messages to the next group of officers who will be continuing in the path of their predecessors in running the organization. For outgoing officers, transitions can also serve as a sense of accomplishment and closure for all the hard work and dedication that they have put in at the end of their time as an officer for the organization. Ultimately, when a student organization navigates a successful leadership transition, it continues sustainability of the group by promoting the growth, operations, visibility, and recognition of the organization. If officers are not successfully transitioned, the group may be at risk for missing the registration deadlines, failing to complete annual projects or programs, and overall stunt the success of the group. Things to consider for outgoing officers are the list of tasks we have included in this slide. We just want to point out a few. So to really go over the first one, it's important to create and update a transition binder, either in a hard copy or a digital platform for the year for officers to review the information included in it. With the lessons that we are learning through COVID-19, our staff would strongly encourage a shared drive or a virtual transition platform. Next is finish all the correspondence that you can for outgoing officers. This really helps to ensure that outgoing officers wrap up all projects and correspondence as best as possible. Next is preparing an end-of-year report, incorporating the organization's goals, activities, and accomplishments. It's really important to create a detailed end-of-year report that highlights specific goals, projects, and accomplishments. This can serve as an outgoing officer's reflection for incoming officers' guides for the new term.
And now that you've had experience being in your role, we ask folks to write down the areas of responsibility, people, any information, phone numbers that you have had with you, or something that you wish that you had prior to in going into your role. And doing so will be helpful for other folks to review and to see that when they take over one of your positions. We also recommend that you review your organization's constitution, bylaws, any written material and goals that you may have in order to revisit that and to provide some attention or revision from an incoming officer. We also recommend that you incorporate a formal transition into your constitution and bylaws to ensure some continuity and effectiveness for your organization, so that way it can become a long-lasting tradition as having formal transitions when you have elections. And we also ask folks that when they are outgoing officers, that they don't just drop off the edge of the earth. We want you to be available to incoming officers and be a resource and guide for them as they also navigate their incoming roles. And so questions to consider as an outgoing officer, these are only 5 questions that are common, but there are various questions that you can review yourself and things that you may have considered when you were in your role. So what is the most valuable thing that you learned about your position that may be helpful for someone else to understand? Were there any obstacles or responsibilities that you were unaware of that came about within your role? During your time, were there things that didn't work for you, but that can be improved for a new officer or could be revisited in the future, especially right now in our virtual pandemic? What are things that you consider to be the greatest responsibilities of your position? And what are some resources that you received when you needed support in your role? And so to consider these questions, it may be helpful to write these down and to provide that to an incoming officer in order to provide that support for them.
Things to consider for incoming officers. It's important for all incoming officers to be familiar with the organization's bylaws, policies, and procedures for the group. This is important because incoming officers will be responsible for keeping up and holding the group accountable for all operations. Next is, now that the registration and re-registration process is opened, it is important and for all necessary officers to complete the principal member training and have one member of the organization complete the re-registration process for the organization. So all information regarding re-registration was emailed to all student org principal members as of last academic year. It would also be helpful to review the administrative paperwork the outgoing officers have created so that the incoming board can get a stronger feel on how to run the organization. Next is that it is beneficial to host a transition retreat between the incoming and outgoing officers to review all transition materials. If that's not possible, it is still strongly encouraged that the new officers host a retreat for their board to be all on the same page for the organization's operations. Having one-on-one meetings with the outgoing officers would be a great follow-up in place of a retreat or just in addition to the retreat if it's necessary. This one-on-one meeting could serve as a more in-depth meeting with an outgoing officer, could provide the wealth of knowledge to the person coming into their position. In thinking about the new officer retreat, as I mentioned, this would be the space where the new officers can come together and set new goals for the board as a whole for their individual positions, which will get the group into the goal setting process a little bit later.
So very similar to an outgoing officer, questions to consider as you begin your position. What are some things that you should know about the role? Any important forms, reports? How were the previous meetings held? Any events that were important to the organization? And any specific timeline and duties that might be necessary to understand as you begin this position. And currently, as you consider your organization, what are some things you should know and need to complete, such as a registration forms or any other principal member requirements? Who are the people you should get to know, specifically your community advisor or your CSI advisor, any alumni or other folks who may be engaged with your organization? What are the resources and services provided for your organization, especially if you have an event and you want AS funding, or if you have any questions regarding events, making sure that you understand those services that are provided to you all, and along with any other departments that may support or promote your own organization. And again, who is your community advisor and your CSI advisor? Those two individuals are very different. The CSI advisor works for the institution, and the community advisor can be someone who is a staff, faculty, or an alumni from your organization. And we also understand that as students, you are also still preparing for your academics and engaged in various organizations. So ensuring that how are you going to take care of yourself when there's a lot of pressure or various obstacles occurring during this time when you are in your role.
Officer transitions are most successful when they're paired with goal setting for the organization, for the executive board officer team, or for each individual officer. Things to keep in mind is when you are working with the group to create shared goals, whether that be for the entire organization or just the officer team. It is important to create guidelines up front for the purpose of the conversation and expectations of everyone involved when it comes to goal setting. Group goal setting can provide your organization with many benefits, including gaining buy-in from fellow organization members to accomplish goals, creating expectations to which you can hold members accountable to, building trust and respect between officers, and fostering inclusion and community. So really working together to make sure that the organization is establishing goals at various levels for the individual officers, for the executive board team as a whole, and for the overall organization.
So individual goal setting can support you in your current role, but also how to prioritize certain things that may occur. And so thinking about you as an individual and you in your current role, what legacy do you want to leave for your organization? What impact do you want to provide and to have as you complete your term in this officer role? What is a priority for your position to support the entire organization? And so really ensuring that you understand the duties from your own position and what are the priorities that you can support members, but also the team in order to be an effective, successful organization. And also creating some SMART goals. So we recommend that these goals are specific, they are measurable, attainable, and realistic, but also that provides a timeline for yourself as well. And so SMART goals have been very effective for individuals to complete huge tasks, but also to understand ways that they can successfully support the mission statement of your organization.
Now, when thinking about officer transitions, it can be very common that students who are stepping into the leadership position haven't held a leadership position in the past. If that is the case, we hope that the following few steps will provide students serving as first-time leaders with some tips and tricks on how to help you navigate your new leadership position. The first important step in serving as a first-time leader is developing confidence in yourself and the officer position you are transitioning into. Confidence is believing in yourself, feeling comfortable in your true self, and knowing you have worth. We wanted to start off with building confidence for a first-time leader because serving as a leader who is confident often gives you the ability for members to believe in you and helps connect you with your team members. In the process of developing your confidence, it is important to recognize your individual talents and skills that you bring into the officer position. It is also helpful to remember that you are most likely elected into this position, so know that your members believe in your skills and experiences that will help you be successful in the role. We would also want you to be able to recognize your own talents and play off of those strengths. So if you have good people skills, use those skills to help bring the officers together in forming a team. Next is bouncing back from your mistakes. It is important to not get stuck or give up once you have made a mistake. Making a mistake in the leadership position can happen and will happen often. But what is important is that leadership is a learning process, and if you make a mistake, you need to take the time to reflect and address what happened so that you can prevent the actions that happened from happening again in the future. Next is surrounding yourself with people who believe in you. This can be inside your organization or outside of the organization. These are the people who know you best and recognize your talents, even when you're struggling to see them for yourself. These people will be the people rooting you on, even if you have made a mistake. So don't forget to take the time to find and surround yourself with people who believe in you. Developing confidence goes hand in hand with taking pride in yourself and your work. This means making an effort to do your best at whatever you're doing. Lastly, recognizing that developing your leadership ability is an ongoing process. It is going to take practice and you're going to have to make an effort for it. But if you recognize your talents, bounce back from your mistakes, surround yourself with people who believe in you, and take pride in yourself, then you can make an impact with your leadership abilities.
As a first-time leader, it's very important to have team building opportunities, not only with members of your organization, but with other community members, and any events that you may be having. Team building activities helps motivate folks to work together, developing strengths and addressing areas of improvement in order to encourage collaboration within your organization. So incorporating team building into your meetings, events can allow for greater outcomes with alignment to your goals and building better relationships. And so currently during a pandemic, we strive to be creative and innovative into thinking how we can use technology into creating team building opportunities.
We want to briefly review the importance of communication and the role it has in leadership. Good communication skills help a person articulate the vision and goals of the team so as a way to motivate others to achieve them with efficiency. Strong communication skills allows a leader the ability to set clear expectations for the group and present clear expectations for what the group can expect of the leader. Things to consider in thinking about communication and transparency for a first-time leader are communication can be used as a role modeling tool. So if you demonstrate what active listening is, this can be a trait your group members also practice. Next, especially in the times of COVID, is being mindful of which platform or mode your team will be communicating on. If one member sends an email message, but another is sending a group direct message about the same topic, it can be a little confusing. So it is helpful at the beginning of your officer term to set a framework on which communication platforms the team will be primarily using so everyone is on the same page. Another thing to be mindful of is to consider your audience. Everyone has various communication styles of how they best send and receive information. This means, for example, I'm a very visual person, so notes or minutes are always extremely helpful for me to follow during our team meetings. So if you have members who need to see communication information, it's important to use Google Docs to keep track of meetings or to-do lists for the group. Next is to make sure if you are communicating with your organization or officer team, to be sure to keep your messages clear, simple, and direct, so the message isn't misunderstood, as this can cause a gap in understanding. And lastly, effective leaders understand the importance of listening and encouraging input from the members of your team. This will help build a collaborative organization where members all feel valued.
Leadership assessments help support and gain a better understanding of who you are as an individual and how you can work with others on your team. We all have talents and skills that contribute to the team efforts and provide the ability to be effective and engaged. So we encourage that you visit the Career Center at UC San Diego to view the opportunities that they have for students into taking various leadership assessments, such as the Myers-Briggs and Emotional Intelligence Assessment or Clifton Strengths. These are powerful assessments that will help you reveal your own emotions, how to make decisions, to identify your strengths and talents in order to support the entire organization in itself.
Cristian and I had the chance to survey a handful of our current student leaders who discussed what advice they wish they had received before they stepped into their first leadership position. So we hope, Tim, that you read through these quotes because it's really important to make sure that you're having fun and enjoying the experience and not taking everything to heart. It's okay if you make mistakes, but you shouldn't let things that you are not in control of impact you. Another student recommended setting realistic expectations for you, your executive board, so that these are expectations that everyone contributed to creating and can be held responsible for meeting. Next is get to meet everyone in your org or on a more personal level and not just professional. So as Cristian mentioned, really the importance of building a sense of team in your organization. And then lastly, ask for help or be able to say no.
And overall, we want you to enjoy the process and to really make an impact not only within your organization, but within your communities as well. And so if you have any other questions when you are a first-time leader, we always ask folks to come to the CSI office, but currently during a virtual pandemic, we ask that you email us so that we can better support you as a first-time leader with any transitions that you may be having or any questions along the way. And as we start to think about virtual opportunities, we hope that you are figuring out how you can navigate and prepare for virtual transitions in the future, and how you can build a team that will be effective, either with Zoom or any other platforms that you may be using as well. And we just want to thank you all for being here today, for spending some time with Chloe and I, to really understand how to navigate successful transitions, but also how to become an effective first-time leader within your organization. And so we hope that you enjoy your fall virtual quarter, and we hope that you can get involved with us as well. Get involved at ucsd.edu.